It's time for the news.
Another UFO sighting has taken place.
The leather's made out of cardboard.
The number you have dialed is in an alternate dimension.
Welcome back to Weird Week. This is your host, Jack DeMont, here with my co-host, Daniel Kim. How you doing, man?
Doing well.
We went on a little hiatus. We had some personal things. We had 4th of July celebrations. We probably should have announced it, but we're back better than ever.
We're just too busy celebrating independence.
That's right. And we're also, changing up the format constantly, going back to kind of our original format in the sense of one a week, just me and Daniel getting our thing done. But we are also going to change up the format in a little bit in the sense that we're going to try to stop talking too much serious news and try to get into a little more lighthearted, weird stuff, along with a lot of like pop culture news, because it's the stuff that it's our bread and butter. It's what we know best. So let's just kick things off. How you feeling about that, Danny? You like that?
I like that a lot. I mean, there might be some heavy-hearted stuff, but we're going to just try to keep it interesting.
100%. Exactly.
To a degree, some lightheartedness, kind of in our own style.
Right, exactly. So the way I think that we will do this is a good way to just like kick it off with the real news. So we'll go straight into the stuff that's like real world topics, and then start moving into just like the more pop culture-y type stuff. So let's start off with an update on an article that we had spoken on previously a few weeks back. A gentleman had opened a store selling heroin and cocaine and things of the like in Canada that was not sanctioned, and he had felt it was a good way to advertise clean drugs instead of like buying drugs that are cut, and that like the possibilities behind helping people out that are addicted to these kinds of drugs is that you could possibly actually just sell them the drugs and it be at least clean. He's died of an overdose, and I gotta say,
great marketing.
I gotta say, I mean, I'm not surprised. It happened so soon after he opened that store too, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, it's fitting that he would die of an overdose. He has like a store full of drugs.
I mean, yeah.
Well, if no one's gonna buy it, I might as well just use it.
I'm trying to see if they mentioned the drug that he passed away on. I think it may have been fentanyl. I'm seeing fentanyl here at the bottom of the thing, but the article, but it's more like they're just talking about fentanyl. I'm not seeing anything that actually said he had died of fentanyl. So it's unfortunate, and it just goes to show that, yeah, I mean, you can try to wrap your head around these really hard narcotics in a positive way and spin it to like, oh, well, it's clean drugs, this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, man, I don't know. At the end of the day, this stuff is hard to get clean. If you did die of fentanyl, it's hard to get clean, clearly. You know what I mean?
Fentanyl was, damn, I heard that's a crazy drug.
Doing some crazy stuff, man.
I heard like people die of just like it getting on their clothes, and they just somehow inhale it somehow, or it gets into their bloodstream. So that's a scary drug. That is a scary drug.
Yeah, it must be very easy to overdose.
And I heard like doctors are prescribing it to a degree to help with pain, but like a lesser degree.
Yeah,
and I think it's funny because I saw like a lot of doctors have been prescribing like heroin to wean them off of the addiction of fentanyl addiction. So it's just like they use heroin to be like, oh, this is a lesser form of what the high you're gonna get to wean you off fentanyl. And it's just like, damn, how strong is that drug?
Right. It reminds me of a meme that I saw. It's this video of a kid. He's in the hospital, in a hospital bed, and the nurse is like, it's okay, calm down. We're gonna do this, that, and the other. We're gonna a little fentanyl, and he goes, fentanyl. He up out of the chair. He's like, no. She's like, it's okay. We're gonna do it right, So he was like, he was sweating it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, fentanyl, crazy drug.
Great, crazy drug. Hell of a drug.
Do you think hospitals should take some? Because there's that thing where I think there's a law. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm for sure know it's in California. But if you let's say you went to a bar and you're drinking way too much, I think the bartender has also some responsibility not to give you any more alcohol, to be like, you're way too drunk.
Right.
Do you think doctors should hold that same liability? Because to my knowledge, they don't have it. If there is, I apologize, because I don't know. But I'm not sure if they're liable for prescribing a drug that's so addictive and could possibly affect their lives in such a crazy way.
Yeah, I mean, people get addicted to so many different kinds of drugs. People get addicted to
sugar.
Yeah, I mean, humans are so easy to become addicted. I don't know how else to put it. That a doctor prescribing a medication period is like giving somebody an opening to be addicted to it. You could be addicted to freaking gummy vitamins.
Gummy vitamins are bomb though.
Oh man, now that you say it, I'm gonna go crack one of those open and eat off.
Yeah, apparently you're not supposed to take more than the recommended amount because it's bad for your kidneys, but it's just it's gummies, dude. You just pop 10 of them in your mouth.
They're healthy gummies.
Yeah, it's healthy for you.
It's so silly.
Is there such thing as too much vitamin C?
Clearly there's too much of something if it's bad for you at the end of the day, eating them. But yeah, let's get into the next fun little thing we got here, because we got Maury. Daniel, you get into this one. You tell me about this.
So Maury Povich, who owned a talk show, who's a talk show host. Is it still on? I'm not sure if his shows are still running, but
I think he's retired now. I believe.
Yeah, but his show, one of the famous segments on his show is trying to guess who the father of a child is. And if you heard it, it's something goes along the results are in. Somebody, you are not the father, or you are the father. And the reactions of what the results are usually the funniest. But apparently, Maury Povich is coming out with a paternity test. Titled that the results are in, which is perfect branding, and it fits him perfectly. I think if ever a celebrity took on a product for his branding, Maury Povich nailed it. He nailed it. This is what he's known for. This is what his talk show is basically known for. I'm pretty sure his talk show went over various topics, but that was his shtick.
Right. And it's at this point, it's up to you, Maury, to get a at-home paternity test out to the people. That's on you, Maury. He didn't just brand perfectly for him. It was his destiny.
But could you imagine a couple was fighting over that? I'm pretty sure that's not the father's I'm pretty sure that's not my kid. And it's we're gonna get the Maury Povich test, and then it's the results are in. And then as soon as he finds out he's not the father, he's just dancing up and down while the mother's crying.
Yeah. I think
That's
he is retired now. He's 84, so it's crazy that he's opening this business now.
perfect branding.
I
Perfect
mean,
branding.
he still looks pretty good for 84. I mean,
Yeah.
and it says that it's guaranteed that the test results will be available in up to 2 days and would be 99.99% accurate.
Good shit. You are Jack DeMont. You are not the father.
That's right, baby.
Thank God. Woo. Start
I
dancing.
I really did love that those shows, those daytime talk shows, and they all had their own little shtick. But Maury like fiddled around with other things for a little bit, but then eventually it was just like paternity tests, and the way the reactions are golden every time because like especially like the women that have the men on because it's always a paternity test to see if they're the father. The women that have them on are always like very, very certain of who's the father. They're always 100% certain in their heart of hearts, and they come on preaching that they know who's the father. And when they're accurate, it's great. When they're inaccurate, it is hilarious. They go running to the back with the cameraman chasing them down hallways through the back, like back studio.
We have to get the shot
to the green room, and he's flying back there, and it's like that's like their favorite thing. They like when he's about to read the results, they like open up the pathways in the back studio. They're like, "Oh, get ready. This one's not the father. Just get ready. She might run through." Like open up lanes. Like, oh man, I really really loved it. It was so funny.
I think there was also like a person that brought on like a guy, and he was not the father, and then so they went on looking for who the father is. She brought 3 guys, and they were all not the fathers, and I was just like, lady. It's like wow.
She's like,
a lively weekend for you, a lively week for you.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know who the father is. And they're like, we want to help you solve this mystery. And she's like, I know I had multiple partners at the time. They're like, okay, you bring in as many partners as you had. She's like, there was this one night.
And there was that other night, and there was the other night after that
of multiple partners that one night.
I know, this is like, boy, you were just collecting.
She has the whole orgy come in one episode.
Man,
guys,
I mean, really, if those guys didn't dodge like paying child support, man, they definitely dodged an STD. Man, that is
right
insane.
Good stuff, Maury. Congratulations on being the face of paternity tests and getting your brand out there.
Which is, I mean, like I said, it's fitting. It's fitting.
It's so good. Moving on. We've got something really insane that happened. This is a sports news thing, guys. Sports news. And this is not football. I don't really understand the sport very well. If it's not football, American football, I don't really understand the sport very well. I kind of understand basketball, but baseball.
Put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, put the ball. Here in this game, you connect the ball with the bat, and you catch the ball in a glove.
I think you're talking about boxing.
Boxing, yes. The New York Yankees recently accomplished one of the most historic feats in baseball history. It's really hard to get this statistical anomaly where you pitch a perfect game. A perfect game is different than a no-hitter. A perfect game is better than a no-hitter.
Is the perfect game a no-hitter or
Well, no, because I
Sorry,
think
I don't understand baseball neither.
right.
I'm
Well,
just
neither do I. And
oh,
I've
I think you and I know we know the general rules. I don't think we're not deep into the sport where we know like statistic like the significance of a certain play or anything like that.
right. Um, let
But I
me.
know
I know
definitely
that there's a
pitch.
difference.
Mhm.
Basically, here I have a brief summary. If a pitcher isn't allowed any hits but gives up a walk,
Mhm.
or a batter gets on base by a fielding error, it's
Mhm.
still it's considered a no hitter. But a perfect game, they don't walk and they don't get on base at all.
Wow. Okay. So no batter was successful at all, even trying to make it to a base. That's a big feat.
Right. I believe this is the 24th in Major League Baseball history,
Hmm.
and Major League Baseball has been around for like I don't know 100 years or something like that. Like it's been
Yeah,
around for
even
a
back
long
then when it
time.
was called stickball or something like that.
uh, they yeah, it is the only 24th in only the 24th in MLB history, and it was recorded in 99 pitches thrown over 9 innings, no hits, no walks. And this what's more crazy, what's the most crazy thing about this is that this Yankees pitcher his is like their starting pitcher, like he's one of the guys that like they put in their really the way baseball works is they usually like save their really good pitchers for like the last few innings,
Yeah, yeah.
and they put in like just their average, kind of guys at the start. And essentially, this guy started with a perfect game, and he was just their like run of the mill starter guy. And they were smart enough to say, this guy's hot. He's got the hot hand. We're not going to take him out. We're not going to put some guy in that's statistically better every other day, stuff like that. When this guy has legit played a perfect game so far, we're not that stupid. The second he messes up, we'll put someone in. I don't know what the conversation was, but like, as far as a perfect game goes, they were like, we're going to let this guy ride as much as possible. And I think the thing is, you can still have a perfect game with multiple hitter or multiple pitchers and stuff like that. But this was a perfect game by one guy,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's
congrats. I don't know. Like that's an amazing feat to actually have no hits.
right.
I wish I could follow baseball to be really know this. I know it's significant. I'm impressed by it, but I wish I followed baseball to be like the wow factor would be more.
Well,
But
right. I mean, and the people I do know that have followed, some of them have gotten really emotional. Like I watched a friend of mine watching cried for the guy because he knows the guy is not that big of a name, in the way that he saw it was like this is this guy's like shining moment. This is this guy's like,
mm,
you don't know if this guy's career will ever play out like this again. Like you don't know that this guy is all of a sudden a superstar. This might
hmm
be like a very game specific instance for him, and this might be the game that changed his life for good, to put in his name in the history books as the
yeah, definitely.
24th.
Even that, you're immortalized
Yeah,
forever in
yeah.
MLB. Yeah, that's in and of itself a feat. I mean, like I said, I don't know baseball enough to know who this pitcher is or know how his career is going to play out. But I mean, if I had to think of something similar to basketball, I think the Lakers had this one guy who was like when they had a bunch of injuries, he came on as like a 1 day contract, and he was like trying for years, like almost like over 10 years to make it to the NBA, and he just like balled out that game.
Yeah.
He was like the oldest rookie. I think he was like 30 something. He was a 30 something year old rookie because that was his first ever year in the NBA, and he had a 1 day contract and he just went off. And
It was the
yeah, I mean,
Lakers, right?
yeah, it was the Lakers. I forget his
Yeah.
name, but yes, but it's
He
just
was a
something
G
that's
leaguer that got promoted and went off. I
yeah,
remember
yeah. If
that.
you look
Yeah.
at him, he
He
looks a little
looks
bit on
like
the
an old
older
man.
side. Yeah, he had
They
white
gave him
hairs
like
and
a
stuff like that.
nickname, something like that, like an
Yeah,
old man or something like that.
yeah, and he was just balling. He was like chucking up 3 pointers, making them, and I was just like, it kind of warmed your heart. You're like, damn, like he got it. Like he finally accomplished. I mean, he must have like slept extra well that night.
Right. Yeah, no, you always feel great watching those like those perfect games happen. Those games where it's like you're just for this one game a statistical anomaly. I've heard of it in football. But that the last time I can really think of something like that happening where the guy kind of didn't like his career was just like very average otherwise, besides like one very good game is a game that happened like before I was following, maybe even before I was born, but a guy that set, I think, the record for most yards in a game, and I think it's still not been surpassed.
Yeah.
And he just went off that game. He was, I think it was air yards specifically, like catching air yards.
Oh, okay. Also, I mean, have you ever been to a baseball game?
Yes, I've been to one baseball game.
Yeah, I think I gained like 10 pounds because I think all I did was eat.
Oh yeah,
yeah, just I don't know.
That's
like,
the best thing about American sports.
Yeah, no, but like other sports, I believe I can just get into the game. But I remember just sitting there like we're there like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the game ended at like 9 or 10. I remember it was well into the night, and just like, man, all I could do was eat because I just wasn't interested in the sport. Because I think MLB did this thing where, you know how like there's like a timer for your plays in football and basketball, and there's usually for team sports, but like I think now they're gonna implement like a time system where it's a little bit more fast paced to kind of grab a better, like a more broader audience. But that's the one thing I didn't like about the sport, how slow it was. It's just like, when is this gonna end? It's just those one inning, it lasted like an hour and a half, and then just like, bro, when is this gonna end?
No, yeah, it's hard. I have to agree. It's something that it's a game that takes a lot of patience, and you know, I think that it's like a very like calculated and strategic game that a very few people can get into because of that. But ultimately, that's why I've like landed on American football as the one I watch for the most part, is because I feel like it's one of the best combinations of like the strategic side of things and like basically playing like a chess match as well as like very physical and stuff. And then like there are little breaks in between, but I love those little pauses. I was watching
Coming up next, the coin toss.
Did we we may have even talked about this already, but we talked about Jolly, the Korean Englishman. I watched a Jolly where they ate the Super Bowl foods, and they like loved eating American Super Bowl foods. And they talked about, and it was like funny because they were like, how do Americans watch the game while they're eating this food? It's so good. And it was like, that's why there's stoppage time.
For people to go to the concession stands.
For people to go to concession stands, for people to just put down beer after beer with burger after wing after, and they got what was funny about the Jolly guys was they one year did their own version of what they thought like Super Bowl foods were, but they made like, I think we did talk about this. They made like what's the little Brussels sprouts? They made Brussels sprout sliders.
Oh, Brussels.
They like cut a Brussels sprout in half and put like cheese and meat, and then like skewered it, and it was a Brussels sprout slider, and cooked it. And it's like, that's not what Americans eat while we were watching football.
In
Brussels
LA,
sprouts sliders,
in LA,
not even in LA. Not even in LA. They won't even do that. Like, come on. You have to really no. Like, that's one thing I think all Americans really understand is like on Super Bowl, you're a carnivore or get GTFO.
Or chips. There's a lot of
well,
chips,
yes,
definitely.
of course. Yeah. Chips and like potato skins, all kinds of really good stuff. My sister makes really good jalapeno poppers, and she liked to do that for Super Bowl. I think you came to one of the Super Bowl parties where she had that.
Yeah. Also, pigs in a blanket are pretty popular too.
Pigs
from what I've experienced.
Wieners in a blankie.
Yeah.
But
we say pigs stuff. Because weenies is kind of there's a little sexual connotation to it.
Yeah.
I'm popping wieners in my mouth. Not the greatest sentence in the world. A very weird sentence.
Hey man, sometimes you just gotta be a glizzy guzzler, you know.
Grizzly guzzler.
Glizzies all day. Glizzy. Speaking of Googles, just joking. Speaking of Google, we have a new phone that's coming out. It's called the Google Pixel Fold, and it's Google's first folding phone. I think Samsung was the first one to do a folding phone, or I don't know who's doing the folding phones. But
Samsung's the one I heard of. I'm not sure. I know it was something that a few years back that a lot of phone companies were trying to do, but I think as far as successfully distributing it, Samsung was the one that did
it. Right. And they from my understanding have mostly only come out with like the phone size ones that fold up into like a little square, and there's always like this really, really big crease down the middle of the screen, and with the size of the phone, I think that's highly inconvenient to have that little crease right there in the middle. Google's phone is going to have a crease, but it's bigger. It's the size of a phone when you fold it up, and when you open it, and like I think a kind of big phone when you fold it up, and when you open it up, it turns into basically a little tablet. I think with the size of a screen like a tablet, that crease in the middle would be much less annoying to like do things on. You get me?
Yeah. Well, the crease is inevitable. I mean, the thing about the crease, it's very noticeable at a certain angle, but you, as your phone, when you're looking at front, you do notice it, but it's not as apparent when you're looking to the side. And no one's going to look. You're not going to use your phone holding it on its side, on looking at it from the side. You're going to from the screen,
right,
facing you. So it's like the crease thing, to a degree. Maybe later down the line they'll figure out a formula to not have it there, but it is going to be inevitably there. But yeah, when you feel it, you do also feel the crease too. But I don't know, it's a cool invention. I mean, to have
I think the feeling I think feeling the crease would be the biggest issue for me, but at the end of the day, it looks like it would be very functional, very fun, and I would probably get over it pretty fast. Looking at it, it's like it's definitely making me consider doing something like this for the next phone that I end up getting eventually. I'm not going to upgrade right now, but if they're still releasing them, if this is like successful, people are liking it and whatnot, I might buy their next one or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I've seen a ton of people carry them. It's pretty cool. Like, I think the power on, you can have multiple windows open at a certain time, so your screen is big enough to, have those distributed very well on the screen. But yeah, this folding phone is pretty cool.
I'd love to have one that opens up the size of a tablet. That would be crazy.
Look, feeling of the crease thing, you did mention something that's interesting. It's like, oh yeah, it takes some getting used to. That's one thing I thought I would not get used to when the iPhone didn't have the home button anymore. And I did love using the home phone to kind of double tap it to have all your apps pop up on the screen, and just pressing one button to kind of have it. I thought I would not. Like, I thought it would, like the new iPhones that don't have it, I thought I wouldn't get used to it, but after like a week or two, I got plenty used to it. So
Right.
yeah,
it happens pretty quick. You're on it enough usually, you know.
Yeah, so it just now becomes a new you and a new form of usage, or I don't
Right.
know, a new
Right,
way
right.
of doing it. Yeah,
New extension of yourself.
exactly.
Magic the Gathering. Have you ever played Magic the Gathering, Daniel?
Yeah, I used to play back when I was in middle school. Back then, the more coveted card that I think was coveted was Lord of the Pit.
Did you
I
have one?
definitely remember that card. After that,
You didn't
I
have the
don't
Lord of the
remember.
Pit? Did you have the Lord of the Pit?
No, I didn't have it. I think it's like I had a friend, Paul, who had it. And it was so tempting because he left it in his desk one time. And I was like, would he notice if I took it? Because his family's rich and they could afford another one. But no, I didn't. And I didn't end up doing it. But
It would
I'm
definitely
not proud of
notice.
myself. I should have took it.
I'm not proud of myself. I should have taken it. That friendship didn't last much longer after that.
Exactly. So I would like, it would have ended up the same way. So might as well have no friends with
Paul.
a Lord of the Pit card, as opposed to having a friend and not have it. Eventually, that was going to break up.
Well, currently, there is a card out there that is the rarest Magic the Gathering card. There is a 1 of 1 Magic the Gathering card. They recently released a partnership with Lord of the Rings, a collaborative partnership with Lord of the Rings to release a bunch of Lord of the Rings themed cards and things like that. And there is a special card called the Ring, the One Ring, and its typefaces all in Elven font, which is great. And it was opened by somebody that was very aware of the rarity of this card, because, like, you know, the odds of somebody not really knowing the rarity of this card is actually kind of high. There's a chance that somebody gets this card and sees 1 of 1, and then maybe they start to, like, really, you know, freak out and understand but like, it was found by somebody that is like a collector, and so they did the proper thing in taking it out as cleanly as possible and sliding it into one of those nice, like, cases and stuff like that. Worth in mint condition, and it's interesting because it got a mint 9.
Wow.
Out of and as a collector that opened it straight from the pack and stuff, it didn't get a mint 10, which means it's not perfect still, even though he did his best and it's out of his control.
Which is weird. Like, it's just like, how do they grade these things? Because it's just like, I feel like it's so impossible to get a 10.
The 10,
or even like a 9 point something. I know, like, they do a 9 point something sometimes, and it's just like, I don't know, like, a lot of times it's just, I think the 9, people see the 9 is it's still practically mint. Yeah,
9
10
is mint.
But then a lot of people who don't know that much about collectibles will think like, oh, it's the 10 is the most mint, so like they'll kind of be off put by it. But 9 is very good, and it's weird that, like, it's straight out the package and still got a 9. It's just like, how mint does this thing need to be? You know?
Well, they explain that it's no fault of his own. There's nothing he could have done to make it a 10.
Yeah,
the card there's like a minor blemishes in terms of how the font comes up or something. There's minor things where it's like, it was how it was made. So what I find interesting is that this is a 1 of 1 card, and the manufacturers didn't, like, make sure that they manufactured a mint 10 on a 1 of 1 card. It's a mint 9. It's like, if you're gonna release something at that kind of pristine value in terms of it's a 1 of 1, and you're going to give collectors the opportunity to open it up and make it as pristine and mint as possible. Why would you not go out of your way to make this the best freaking card you've ever printed? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is weird, because do you think that system should have some type of change where it's more variable based instead of like fixed? Meaning, like, if the story behind it is that the manufacturer didn't produce it with the highest quality assurance in mind, that they should at least give it a 10 because it's practically mint, is just to not a fault of the collector, like dropping it or scratching it himself, or mishandling it. I don't know. To me, it just, that's one of the things that I don't know the company that is responsible for the collectors. The name escapes me, but they should like shoot up to the higher ups and be like, yeah, let's just give it a 10 because we know the story behind it.
I don't know, man. I think I'd have to agree with them on this one, and it's just in the sense that, I mean, sometimes it's just out of your control. You can't have a perfect card if it wasn't made perfect. And the thing is, like, manufacturing is really hard to get perfect, so I can see why maybe they didn't get it perfect. But where I'm at with that is that it's like, you guys could have produced multiple of this card and then like burned the ones that were 9s and you found a 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do understand where they're coming from. I think people in the collecting community really do understand it and will be very accepting, because it's still a mint 9. It's like a mint 1 is still mint. You know what I mean? So anyways.
But technically, the higher the grade, the more value it holds.
Right. And where I was going to get to is that because it's a 1 of 1, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It is the most valuable Magic card already. It is at $2 million, and I'm sure it's going to be sold for more. I'm sure it's not going to stop at 2 mil. I haven't looked. Oh wait, no. It is currently under a negotiation sale of $2 million. So,
do you think he's gonna put up an offer up and try to meet some shady dude at a Starbucks holding a $2 million card? Do you have it in cash?
I would think that whoever bought this is like a business owner collector.
Yeah, probably.
And the most expensive card previously sold for Magic the Gathering was $540,000 in March.
Oh, nice.
So,
do you think? Do you have any collector's items? Do you think any Marvel cards are gonna hop in price like Pokemon did?
Marvel cards?
Yeah, I have a ton of those. I found some recently, and they're still in a protective sleeve. I'm like, I wonder if these are worth anything.
If they're still in a protective sleeve, how old are they? 90s?
Ever since like when I was young. So
hey man, they might actually. There's a lot of like Marvel heads are becoming, more. There's more and more of them out there, and people.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just like,
hold on to those.
Popular these things get, I'm just like, okay, we'll just keep you ready.
This might be the perfect time, really, to start looking at it. There's a lot of people just blowing their money on stuff. You might want to look into it. I can't believe it's $2 million for a single Magic card, but they did it. They created a card that's just like so insane. This guy must also, whoever's buying this for $2 million, can't just be like a regular collector. They must also be like a Lord of the Rings freak or something too. There must be a combination happening here.
Combination of a guy who has a crazy amount of money and a Lord of the Rings fan.
It's by a buying and collecting company called Dave and Adams Card World.
Oh, so they're the holder of the card?
They're the ones that are buying the card. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that if the sale's already gone through or not. I would assume by now the sale did go through. unless somebody else upped the offer. But they had originally put in the $1 million offer, and then based on other people's like bids, they bumped it up to 2 mil immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a lot. It's very common for like a collector to sell their stuff via a store to work like kind of on a consignment, or the store will kind of act as a vehicle to sell it. They'll display it for you, and then you give them kind of a percentage of the sale. Yeah, that could be a thing. But I mean, congrats on holding a $2 million collector item. That's almost like pitching a perfect game.
I mean, 1 in a mil.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Proud of you. Spent $2 million on a card, I guess.
I mean, yeah. I mean, since I'm not one to tell people what to do with their money, if you have the money and you want this card, by all means, keep the economy going.
It's a collector's item that's definitely going to appreciate and value with the way that they're going to keep it pristine and things.
Yeah.
Speaking of pristine and smooth transition is what Nintendo's looking for. Nintendo's trying to plan a smooth transition from Switch to whatever their next console is by using players' Nintendo accounts. Basically, this is something that Xbox and PlayStation have done for a long time, and it's just really, really convenient, finally, that Nintendo is willing to do the same for us as gaming consumers, because essentially Nintendo is so proprietary with their stuff, and it's so hard to like there, yeah, it's so proprietary that you have to like just buy the game for that system and play it on that system, and it's not gonna transfer over to the next system and stuff like that. And now now they've decided to give us more access, which is really, really cool, because we're moving into like a digital age where they're going to stop trying to give us cartridges and things like that. And I think the best way to get around cartridges and discs and whatnot, if you want players to enter the digital age and just like download off of the internet essentially all their games, that you're going to have to be able to give them ownership forever on those on the internet.
Yeah, I don't think it's the fault of Nintendo. I think, well, yeah, it's somewhat their fault, but like I don't think they developed their online stores as well as PlayStation, Xbox did, or their online anything. You know, they've been very, very lagging on that part. I think the Wii shop and the Advanced shop closed recently, so I think a lot of times like people who have an Advanced like are at that point, but when they announced that it was closing, they were just trying to buy up as much stuff as possible to prolong the life of their Advance, so they don't have to go out and try to buy a cartridge that's going to be like twice the price of what it originally was. But I don't know, like I think Nintendo is getting there as far as the Switch is concerned. It still has a lot of things that it needs to work on, but at least they're keeping that in mind, that it's good enough where you can just transfer accounts, and like the Nintendo store is still gonna be the Nintendo store. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's good enough where you can transfer, do some updates here and there, but like that Wii store was just, it was as basic as you can get basic. It was like just yeah.
Their Switch shop is not bad. They've I think it could also still be updated a little bit. Like there's some things about the interface that I don't really understand, and it's hard to like find certain things. But on the whole, you know, there's a reason why they've been able to stay as proprietary as they have been. Like their systems and their games are just awesome. Like the Switch is just awesome. Like it's not a PlayStation or Xbox. It cannot run those really, really high res games, but Mario's not high res. It's made for a Switch and built for the Switch, and it plays so nice. So like it's understandable why they've maybe lagged on implementing these features and things because they know they can just get away with it because people are going to keep coming back no matter what. But grateful that they're also understanding that as paying customers and things like that we want upgrades in ways that are really like real upgrades, stuff like that, not just like a new system. We want them to change the upgrade the way they function, upgrade the stores, upgrade the ability to own your game forever.
Yeah. I mean, they're still doing things right. Maybe they're not doing stuff thing as an online presence, but as far as like Tears of the Kingdom, I heard that's up for Game of the Year right now.
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to play it yet, but
you can like build stuff. They combine Minecraft with Breath of the Wild.
Some of the stuff that I've seen online that people have built with Tears of the Kingdom is just insanity.
Yeah, somebody built like a remote control airplane, and it was just like, people are creative.
Yeah, and like the way that I don't understand what they're using to build these things, like weird magic in Zelda. But these contraptions are very like weird looking, and they work somehow in these weird functions that they're putting out there for. And I saw the best one I have seen so far was there was this big like crater in the ground. It was like a big bowl. And I don't know if they have like a terrain editor and made a little bowl in the ground, or if they just found this like spot somewhere in the land that's just like this big crater, this big bowl. And they built this contraption around it that started spinning these things that were like tops opposite each other, and then they dropped them into the bowl like Beyblades. They Beybladed against each other. It was the coolest thing, dude. I was like, this is beyond me. I don't understand what's happening here. Giant like statues spinning at each other in the
middle. That's crazy. Like, yeah, people come up with the craziest things. Like a lot of times, like I'm not sure if you played like Mario Maker, but the levels people build are just crazy. There's like one level where all you do is just stand on. People don't know it unless they know about the level, but you just walk onto a little platform that just kind of brings you along to the hole, and the whole point is not to do anything. But most people will try to dodge these things or go over stuff, and like that's where they die. But it's made so it's impossible to move. But once you get on that platform, just the level is just supposed to guide you through all these mix and matches, and just like that's it.
And then in
it's
the
just
end,
like and the
you
things
win
that people
if you
come up
didn't
with,
do anything.
Yeah, it's just like
that's crazy.
All these bullets coming your way, and it's just like people by like just natural reaction try to dodge or jump over it, but then that's when you die. But it's made so you just appreciate all the crap that's going on.
So funny. I really like that. I really like that. The creative stuff that you see, man. People are getting bigger and badder with it. There's like Fortnite creative, which is crazy now. There's like so many different side games within Fortnite that like I never even touch. If I go into Fortnite, I usually play old Fortnite. But there's like a lot of creative modes and stuff in there that have completely changed, and they're the way the game like works, and it's like they're not even Fortnite. Minecraft is obviously just like crazy. There's so many different things that are really cool creative outlets for all of us now. Speaking of cool creative outlets, you know who's got a cool creative outlet?
Maury Povich?
No, Hayao Miyazaki.
Oh yeah, Hayao Miyazaki, the Japanese Maury Povich.
Right. Yeah. Oh my god! Why would you say that?
I'm so sorry.
That's so terrible. Not Hayao. No.
I'm so sorry to bring such a great. Did he? Is he the one that came up with Princess Mononoke?
I don't know. I don't think I've seen Princess Mononoke, so I wouldn't.
Spirited Away and
yes, Spirited Away. Yeah,
Spirited Away. One of my favorite anime movies.
Yeah, it's one of the tippy top for me. It's probably my favorite of the Hayao Miyazaki films, and I I don't really like, being too. I don't like being like following people or like trying to do just like what is the popular thing, and it's definitely like the most popular Hayao Miyazaki film.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that one is for a really good reason, and at the end of the day, I really just like have my own opinion about things, and if it is the popular opinion as well, then I will also agree. And
Okay, because
uh
I thought you were one of those people who just stay away from popular stuff to be like, because I think that's
just to be
pretentious in
edgy,
itself. Yeah, just to
right?
be unique, and it's like, bro, you're not unique. You're just being an asshole.
Right. No, I do like to be unique when I can justify it, and that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I can't justify that Spirited Away is not my favorite. Spirited Away is just really, really great film. But like so is Howl's Moving Castle. I think Howl's is probably like my second favorite. I haven't seen all of them, but
Mm-hmm.
people rave about my neighbor Totoro and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like
Princess
that.
Mononoke is my favorite.
Princess Mononoke. I'll have to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyways, Hayao Miyazaki is a little worried because his studio, which I guess he doesn't get like the final say on everything. He's more on like the creative side. The studio has decided, in terms of marketing, they are not going to market the film, which is a very interesting move. But I think it's smart. Basically, the marketing is that they're not marketing. Like they've announced, we're not marketing it. And that's enough marketing in and of itself. If you're a Studio Ghibli fan, if you like Hayao Miyazaki films, you will watch that film most likely. It doesn't need to market itself
Mm-hmm.
and Hayao is concerned. He thinks it does need marketing, which is also reasonable. I don't think they're going to change what their marketing strategy is for the film, but I think him just expressing his worries is just natural, and anybody would feel that. I think even the people that have come up with this plan, they probably aren't 100% confident in it. They're probably like, it is a risk, but at the end of the day, we believe in our films or something like that.
Yeah. Did they say a reason why they're not marketing it, or?
It doesn't describe it in this article because it just says like Hayo's reaction to it.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I would have to go and look it up and
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah. Well, I understand his concern because no matter how like you said, the fans will know, but usually a lot of movies are supposed to how they make their money is they're supposed to cater to also market it to a general audience, and that's where your money maker and where you start making your profits is. Because like your fan base is definitely being loyal to you. They're gonna keep up with your, I don't know, your Instagram account and figure out when this movie's gonna come out. But when you can create an international buzz is when you start really making money. So I understand his concern. A lot of times, even with like the superhero movies and like the Fast and the Furious franchise, or even I don't know some of the bigger like Jurassic Park, you still do have to market it because generally there's going to be a small population that's going to follow that franchise and wait for its release. But there's the general population is usually not going to know when your movie's going to be released, and if they don't know it, and if it's not advertised to them frequently, then a lot of them aren't going to go. So it's just and I think with the thing with Studio Ghibli too, I think they had some financial problems, almost to the point where the Studio Ghibli in Japan was about to close down. I'm not sure if it did, but it was going through some hardships as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's a financial situation or just they're just kind of like, you know.
It might be partly that. From what I'm reading, it says that they're just kind of like they don't think that it's worth doing. They've done it. They said they've done it over and over again, and at this point in time, they're just like, we don't need to do that. Doing the same thing you've done before over and over and over again, you get tired of it. It's like
that's
marketing
a weird
your
excuse.
film.
Like, oh yeah, we've done this so many times, we're tired of it. It's just like,
yeah.
okay, that doesn't seem like a I don't know, a feasible excuse, but whatever.
Yeah,
So
it sounds
weird.
like Studio Ghibli's a very small team.
It looks like the PR team has some work, needs some work too. They're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're tired. We don't want to do it. It's like
They're
you
probably
usually don't say it that way, but okay.
right. They're probably as old as Miyazaki. Miyazaki already like announced his retirement and then came out of retirement. They probably all thought they were retired. Like they just don't want to do this. They're just done.
They're
They're like,
tired. We're old and tired.
get me out of this. Give me some more money and get me out.
That's funny.
It is pretty funny. I like that a lot. I love it. I love it. On more movie news, let's run through some recent box office hits and misses. I want to talk about a lot of these because they're just it's like summer blockbuster season. There's a lot of films that have come out that have just been like highly anticipated that have that are like big franchises and stuff. So let's start with Spider-Man Across the Universe swings past
the first one.
Yeah.
The first one was awesome.
They swing past an impressive milestone at global box office. Now, I mean, this is dated at this point, but it said 607 mil. The first one was awesome. I haven't watched the second one. I will wait for it to come out on streaming, but Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse looks just as good as the first. You said you watched the first, but you didn't see the second one yet?
I didn't see the second one. None of the blockbuster movies I've watched. And
like
I regret doing that, but eventually, like, yeah, I will try to find some time to watch some of these movies. Because definitely, I was definitely anticipating a lot of the movies that are coming out and have came out.
Getting excited about them, yeah.
Yeah. But I did love the first one, yeah, to answer the question. Yeah, I loved the first one.
Yeah, no, for real. The first one to me, the first one was an experience that I very rarely have, if you ask me. You know what I mean? Where I felt like new feelings, you know? There was new sensations and there was new like, wow, like this is what can be done with animation and superheroes and stuff. Like they don't have to be what they've been for so long. Like animation has been so much the same for so long, and superheroes are doing the same for so long that it's like the way that they really changed up like all the animation styles and stuff like that for that movie. It was really, really cool, and it made me like,
yeah,
I was so impressed. I was just so impressed.
Yeah, I'll go further. There like, it's rare that I find like scenes in animated movies that like just to stick out in my mind. There's that one scene in Spider-Man where he's kind of hanging. He's finally like in his getup, and he jumps off the building, and then there's that danger song, and it's just like a 3-shot, like on the side. I think he's falling, but the middle shot is him kind of. It's like a reverse. I don't know any of the camera terms, so like excuse me, but like that shot was like that scene and that shot was so dope.
Especially like yeah. Animated films
really, really well done and well made.
Animated films have definitely been lacking in that, if you ask me, lately, where it's like they've been creating like heartfelt stuff, and sure some of these are really, really like beautiful in a sense, but like, are you making that one shot that like, wow, you know?
Yeah. That's one thing I miss about movies is that one shot or that one scene that kind of defines the era or that movie. Because when I say you watch The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
When I say Matrix, what scene pops out to you?
Obviously, Trinity jumping.
Yeah, that or bullets,
Neo bullets time.
Yeah, that
bullet time is great.
Yeah, I think movies miss a lot of that right now. It's just like that one scene that kind of defines that whole thing. You know, just
Right.
I don't know. I don't like. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if
yeah.
it's a
No, I
bad thing
feel
or a
you.
good thing, but I do miss that feeling when I like when somebody brings up a movie. It's like that scene automatic just pops in my head.
It's hard, and it's like there's too much just droll and shit coming out because they're just pumping studios full of money and but like not producing really well executed films. So it's good to see that like people are really passionate about this across the Spider-Verse. But like I also heard Spider-Verse had the second film had quite a few people leave because they felt like they were being overworked, and that is a big problem in the animation world right now. Like
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, I
all
did see a TikToker talk about that, which I didn't know because because I'm not in the industry, so I don't know how it works, but apparently like a studio will like a the movie production company will go to a studio and be like, we need these editors, and how you kind of measure it is like you need to edit 8,000 frames or 6,000 frames or whatever the number is, but each frame could be a different type of work. One just might need a simple like little like a little, you need to erase the background, but a lot of other scenes might need a lot more touch-ups, and just that's how the studios measure, and they don't understand like each frame can mean different things. So like when they say, hey, we need you to edit 8,000 frames, and the studio takes it on, it's just kind of like, wait, you thought it was this amount of frames, but it's like the amount of work in each frame
per frame is different.
so crazy that there's like, that's why a lot of studios are struggling right now. That's why you see is in recent movies that you see like inconsistencies in the CGI, and it's just like at some parts it's like it's really nice, but in some parts it's like, wait, that looks really off. So that's where like they said that you see a lot of inconsistencies. And he mentioned Avatar, and it's like the reason why that movie looked amazing is because they gave it so much time to work on it that it just from end to end, it's just really, it's a great looking film.
Right.
But a lot of the other ones is like a lot I get from the production side. There's like, we need to release this at this date, get this done, and then they're just kind of like picking and choosing which, like what deserves the better touch-ups, you know?
Right. It's unfortunate because
yeah.
it really is taking a toll on the industry on the whole. Like it's making animators jaded and not want to continue their work, and it's making fans really, really bummed because they can see the poor animation. You know, a lot of like we talked about it. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I really didn't like Multiverse of Madness, and a lot of that came down to like sloppy CGI.
Yeah. At some parts it did look nice, but some parts it looked really off.
Yeah.
But
let's move on to another one. We've got Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny whips up worryingly low domestic box office debut. I think they started to catch up a little bit after that, but for the most part, really low numbers for an Indiana Jones film to be released. I think they came out with lower numbers than Crystal Skull, which kind of makes sense because like Crystal Skull, so many people were way more hyped about it, and then I think it let down so many people that's why a lot of people weren't so hyped about this next one. I think though it's also strange because there is like inflation now, so like the price should be higher, there should be more money made in general, so like the fact that they couldn't even eclipse that from like 10-20 years or 10-15 years ago, that's strange to me.
I don't know. Yeah, I never caught Crystal Skull. I heard some things that there, spoiler alert, aliens in it for some weird reason. But yeah, apparently, like I don't know. Like I'm a '90s kid, so I loved Indiana Jones. Like the Temple of Doom will always be my favorite. I believe that's the one, Temple of Doom. It's the one with the rolling boulder, and it's the very.
That might be the first one. Temple of Doom is
it the one where the guy tries to take his heart, and it's
that's
little
the second
kid?
One. That's Temple of Doom. Short round.
That's the one I also like too. it's been a while since I caught these movies, so I kind of edited it all together. But I don't know. It's just the charm of Indiana Jones. I think they're trying to get it
Temple
to
of Doom is your favorite. Temple of Doom is my mom's favorite, and people hate Temple of Doom.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know. It might be different if I catch it now, but for some reason, when I was a kid, I loved it.
No, well, I love Temple of Doom also, and I don't see why people give it as much hate as they do. They don't hate it, but they say that it's the worst of the original trilogy, and I find that kind of like, I don't know. I think it's the most fun one. It's the but I think people don't like that it kind of takes him out of his archaeology thing and into just the depths of the weird culty kind of thing, you know. But that I thought was very entertaining movie, and I really like Temple of Doom, so I disagree.
I might have to rewatch it why people hate it, but from what I remember, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, right, and it's the only one a short round. Of course you love it.
Yeah,
short round's awesome.
Short round is dope. He won an Oscar recently.
Yeah. It's awesome seeing him come back. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think they're trying to do stuff to Indiana Jones and just doesn't make sense. And I don't know. I think you should just let a franchise retire and die in peace.
Yeah.
On a high horse, then try to bring it down and try to do weird things to it. That's the one thing I don't like about all these Disney adaptations. It's just kind of I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to now introduce it to a younger audience, but I'm not a big fan of what they've been doing so far.
No,
but
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I heard there's a lot of CGI in this one. Harrison Ford's older. He can't do all the stuff that he was doing before. So I don't know. It's I've heard very mixed reviews.
It should be a 007 situation where kind of they pass it on to a newer dude.
Well, I think that's what they were trying to do with Shia LaBeouf. And now,
he was in Crystal Skull, right?
Yeah, and everybody hated him, and I didn't hate him. I thought it's just that thing. It gets, some franchises are so near and dear to people's hearts. They just get so much hatred when they try to just bring in a new thing or do something slightly different. And it's Aliens, that was a little weird, but at the end of the day, is it that weird? At this point in time, I can believe aliens built pyramids. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm so confused. So it's I don't know, Dial of Destiny could or Shia LaBeouf. People hated Shia LaBeouf, and I don't know why, but they tried to pass it on to him, and he's even he's Indiana Jones' son in the story. So and the fact that he's not even in the next movie, they try to completely just get rid of him. It's it's just so confusing. It's you guys hated the character so much they decided to just bump him out of the franchise. So annoying. But I guess also Indiana Jones, every Indiana Jones movie has basically been a more independent thing where it's it's indie and a new cast of characters, his dad and a new girl, or you know, that kind of thing. So I mean, I can understand it, that also being part of it.
Well, even a popular franchise like Star Wars, the new one with the, I don't know her name, but I forget her name.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, and Kylo Ren, that's his name, right? The new Darth Vader. He was
oh no, not Ahsoka. You're talking about Kylo Ren and Rey.
Rey, there you go. Yeah. I don't know. I know they got a lot of flack for that, but I thoroughly liked the trilogy. I mean, it wasn't as bad as the Attack of the Clones and Return of the Sith trilogy, you know. So, but it's definitely, there was a lot of holes in that trilogy. that stormtrooper that turned good, I wish they would have focused a little bit more on him. But he was he started off the trilogy, and it kind of the story kind of went towards this love story between Kylo Ren and Rey, and just, I don't know, that part was weird. But
the Star Wars trilogy was not as bad as the prequel trilogy.
The one, there's 3 trilogies. There's the
there's the prequel trilogy 1 through 3 that came out when we
Attack of the Clones and
yeah,
Return of the Sith, and what was
you said that trilogy's worse than the Disney one?
the new one, yeah.
The Disney one's better?
What's they're all Disney now, aren't they?
Yeah, but the Disney trilogy of the Skywalker trilogy.
Yeah,
you thought
the
those
Return of the Return of the
you
Jedi.
thought 7
Sorry,
through 9.
I don't.
You think 7 through 9 are better than 1 through 3?
Yeah, there. Yeah, that. I thought, in all fairness, if you thought that 1 through 3 were better, I thought Darth Maul was the best villain out of the whole franchise, which you only got like 1 movie, but I loved that dude. That dude was badass.
Yeah, I like Darth Maul. We're gonna not talk about Star Wars ever again. That was the end of mine and Daniel's conversations on Star Wars.
Okay.
Our opinions obviously differ very greatly.
I mean, if your opinion is different from mine, I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, you're wrong. I'm just more so like, this is why I liked it. I'll kind of like why you hated it.
I'm just also the kind of person though where it's like I very much have formulated my opinion already, and I like really don't like the Disney ones pretty much, and so it's like hearing anybody try to justify why they like them, I just tune it out basically, guys. I just don't agree. I like completely disagree no matter what almost, but that's not to be like not to be rude. It's just like I've had the conversations with people and stuff, and I don't know what good people see in a lot of it. I thought 7 was the best of the 3. I thought it just pretty much got worse from there. And yeah, I mean, I thought Disney was really, really screwing it up. They were doing a lot of different changings of the whatever to mess with it. I didn't like it. I can't really I don't want to get too deep into it because it's going to end up just being a really long Star Wars conversation. Moving on to another franchise. This one, I know, Daniel, you really like. We were talking about it before. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. So
Beast Wars, yeah, my favorite.
You're a Beast Wars fan, yeah. It looks like it's actually rolled out an impressive global box office at 380 mil. And for a movie like Transformers, where the franchise has kind of started to taper off for a long time, to see that they've got some good numbers coming back their way, that's pretty awesome. And especially that it's like this Beast Wars one that's doing it. And it's got like a whole new cast and stuff. Of like no-name actors that are gonna hopefully like really start to become something more from here.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to catch. Definitely, because I was hyped when they added that Beast Wars element to it.
Yeah. We already talked about it, but like I liked the Beast Wars one growing up, and I think like for me, the reason I think I do like Beast Wars more so than like the just regular Transformers is like I've just never really connected with cars like that. I've never been like a car guy and stuff like that. So it's like they're just not as cool to me like as a gorilla and a cheetah. Like, those are cooler if you ask me. They're like animals and stuff that I actually like. I can't get into cars.
Cars are cool though. I like both Transformers. I think I was a little bit older when Beast Wars came out, so I kind of understood the story a little bit more. But I did like the old Transformers, like the old school.
You're a car guy. Do you like Fast and the Furious?
Well, Fast and the Furious 1 I liked, and it started getting a little bit out of hand, if you will. But I do like the ridiculousness of everything. It's like none of these characters are gonna die. Why put in stakes in anything? Just show cool shots of the of the city you're in and the cool shots of the cars and stunts, and that's it. That's what you. A lot of these movies, you can't go into it so serious. You can't be like, I'm watching, I don't know, like a Quentin Tarantino film, you know, like it just, you can't, it's a lot of times you just have to go into it and just be like, I'm just gonna take it for what it is and just have fun. Like I'm not gonna look at like, I just gonna look at the cool shots in Fast and the Furious and the cool cars and it's like, okay,
it's
that's what I
hard.
literally came here to see. I didn't come here to look for a story or a plot line. Really, it's kind of like there's a lot of holes in it, but I was just like, whatever. Just
It's
show me
hard
the cool
sometimes.
shots.
It's hard sometimes. Because
But
like
the first one, I'll admit, like when I was like, it was like street level based, meaning that it was like based on like car racing, and like when I was in my like early college and late high school years, I was into cars in that sense. So that's when I really connected with it and I really enjoyed it. But it started going off into more of an espionage, spy, heist, and actiony movie. But the first one I did enjoy. It's something that when that Supra came on, I was like, Super. If you're not into racing, Supra is a pretty coveted street racing car. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm not a car guy, man. And I never really watched Fast and the Furious or anything either. I don't think I've seen any of them because I'm not.
Oh,
really
not any of them.
I don't think I've seen even the first one. Yeah.
I mean, it's really about cars anymore. I mean, they drive cars, but it's really about cars anymore.
Now it's about family.
Yeah, it's about family and Coronas.
No, I'm not watching. I mean, the only thing that might get me into it is Ludacris. I like Ludacris.
Not Tyrese.
No, not Tyrese. What are you saying?
I have no idea, because I know like at one point he was like during the Fast and Furious franchise, he was like very popular. He's still in the franchise, but he's not as popular. You don't know Tyrese anymore. Like people who don't know him from back in the day probably like, oh, that dude from the Fast and the Furious movies. Right. And it's like, no, he actually was a singer back in the day.
Yeah, he has a song. He has a couple of hits. Yeah, not Tyrese. I'm all good. Luda is the guy. That's so funny, Tyrese. Let's move on to our last box office. We've got The Flash. The Flash has recently eclipsed the milestone, but for the most part has been hugely disappointing in the box office. And there's definitely a few things that have attributed to it. First off, like the biggest, I think, is not actually Ezra Miller's actions. And Ezra Miller's actions are one of the biggest issues. Obviously, I'd say that's probably like second. I think the biggest issue is that it's a DC superhero film now. Nowadays, like nobody goes to those anymore. They just don't trust DC to produce a good film. Yeah. And the marketing was like super funky for it. They were being kind of like really weird because they had to be super hush hush about all the cameos that were coming in, but they also couldn't let Ezra Miller go on like a press tour. They had to like keep him behind closed doors. They were like, please don't talk to people on camera.
That'd be the first of its kind. The person that's actual star. The movies has you literally on the poster and it's about you. I mean, you playing this character, but like you're not allowed to go. It'd be the weirdest thing ever, man. It's just kind of.
You know, it kind of happened with Chappie. Have you seen the movie Chappie?
Yeah, I've seen the movie Chappie, but who would...
It kind of happened with Chappie. Okay, well, so you remember what Chappie was about? What was
the
Chappie
robot
about?
Dog.
It was a robot dog.
Yeah.
It was a robot.
Yeah.
It was a pet robot
like
that was not...
Dog, yeah.
He was human.
He looked kind of like a dog.
Robot.
Yeah, he worked...
He was like he was like immature. He was like a kid robot, like where he was learning stuff and whatnot. And he was learning from that one band. What's that one crazy South African band? Is it South Africa? Die Antwerp.
I don't remember the name. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
They're basically, those two are like a really weird band. They're like really weird, and they do some really weird stuff. They have tattoos like on their face. I mean, like, I know a lot of people have face tattoos now, but they were kind of doing it before everybody was doing it. They were kind of like some of those weirdos, and they were doing such weird stuff, and they were like not good in person, like in interviews and stuff like that, to a point
Oh,
that they
okay,
had to
gotcha,
be
okay.
completely taken out of the marketing. And they were basically the stars of the movie. It was them and Chappie, and like it basically, all the marketing became Hugh Jackman and Chappie, and Hugh Jackman was like the bad guy. He like was not Chappie's friend, and he was barely ever in the movie, to be honest. And like all I saw in the marketing was a robot and Hugh Jackman. I never saw like Dan Antwerp, or found out that they were like a big part of the movie, but they were like a huge part of the movie. And I think they should have been a part of the press tour if you were trying to actually market the movie for what it was.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
But they were almost like, it was almost worse for them than him, because like obviously he's the Flash, and there's no like,
yeah,
there's
that's
no
what I'm saying.
editing
It's like
him out.
the star of the film. Like for him, they're kind of like, yeah, it's kind of I get why they didn't. Flash is a little different because he
is the Flash.
The
Like,
character is literally named after you. Like it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just, I don't know, if trying to come up with a example. If I don't know, Vin Diesel wasn't allowed to do Fast and the Furious presses, just like, yeah, but he's like the main guy,
No, right.
Yeah.
No. But Ezra's done some really messed up stuff. We know he's got, I think it was like grooming allegations. He like choked a girl on camera and stuff. He's like really messed up in the head, and he's
choked her in a good way or a bad way. There could be two different kinds of choking.
Who knows? If it wasn't like in public on camera, maybe she would have liked it. But, but the way that it happened, I don't think it was so enjoyable. But like, he's also, supposedly trying to do a lot of work on himself and whatnot. But I think the guy is like seriously kind of damaged. Supposedly he worked on a film early, like in his teen years, that kind of messed him up, because it was like a psychological thriller and stuff, and they made him like portray like a murderer or killer or something like that, and it really like actually like kind of messed him up a little bit. He just like doesn't view things the same way as a lot of us do. Like he's one of those stars that really like thinks that like it's all about him, like in like a psycho kind of way almost. Ezra's a little crazy, man. Sometimes Ezra's a little crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could have been that movie was a combination of two, but I'm gonna believe the DC thing more.
That's why they're not having good numbers.
Yeah, because like I know. Well, to give DC some credit, I am a big fan of their animated movies, and I loved Batman the Animated Series, and also Batman Beyond was kind of like the sequel to that little world or universe. But I've been a big fan of like their animated stuff, but as far as like their live action stuff has just been like mediocre and subpar. I don't know what happens. I'm not sure if they can just try to grab the people that work on the animated films and try to bring them over to work on these live action movies. Yeah, that'd be probably a good move to do.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, animation people also like doing animation, so they went into animation and stuff like that. But I think there is a big part of him playing into this though too, just because like, basically for me, I almost wanted to give the Flash a chance when I started hearing about all the cameos and the fun and stuff, and people
Michael Keaton
starting to talk about it. Yeah, like there was certain things that made me like, I've given DC another chance every once in a while, and this was maybe one of those times that I would have, but knowing about the stuff that was going on with Ezra Miller put the nail in the coffin for me, where I was not going to go. And I think that may have been the case for a lot of people. And And I've also heard other things, like in hindsight, in terms of reviews and stuff from critics and fans alike that have watched the film, that it's not as great as it was hyped up to be, and that like a lot of the CGI is like funky, just like in other like big blockbuster films, like we've been talking about, how it's just like overworked and just like weirdly saturated and stuff. Like they just kind of still drop the ball again almost. So it's like it's a combination of just DC's rep, them like following up with that rep again, and then Ezra like not being the most stand-up dude.
Yeah. What nailed the coffin for me was what they did to Wonder Woman.
No.
Like I really enjoyed the first one. That was, if I had to rank all of the DC movies so far, that would be the top one for me. But I don't know how you follow up with that sequel. It's just, I don't know how you go from the highest highs to the lowest that quickly. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I didn't watch any of them.
Yeah, but that's just how and then I was just like, oh, these guys have a history of doing this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'll probably watch it because of the cameos, and I think it's based off one of the better storylines. It's called Flashpoint. But so I think I just might catch it just for the sake of it, but I'm not going there expecting much. I think that's the best way to go into a lot of DC movies. Don't expect much. Don't overhype yourself, because you're likely by history going to be disappointed.
Yeah. I think the next DC film I'll probably try to catch in theaters would be Joker 2, or which is like
the first Joker, the one with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Okay.
We just have differing opinions on stuff, Daniel. We have to really understand that.
That's what makes the world fun. If everybody's just the same, then nobody's special and unique.
Yeah. Yeah, you like the bad Star Wars franchise, and I like the good Joker. I mean, it's
yeah, you can say it that way too. But I'm the one that's unique, and you're the one that's I don't know, insert follower, or like the only guy that follows trends.
I already explained my opinions were.
The Joker thing, that's an unpopular opinion, but I honestly just don't get it. I'm just like, I thought it was a good movie, but I didn't think that to be awarded for an Oscar. I'm just like, really? Was it that good? Like, to be honest, the only thing that was Oscar worthy was Joaquin Phoenix's acting and maybe the cinematography. Outside of that, I thought like was there a story? Like, a lot of times it's just like a lot of questions that weren't answered, and just like, okay, like if you're the storyteller, tell me what's going on. And I'm just like, the half of the movie, I'm just like, okay, so is he the father? Is he not the father? Is the mother crazy? What's going on? Like, and just like at the end, it doesn't answer anything. And they killed Bruce's parents again. Like, it's supposed to be a fucking Joker movie. Why do you have to kill Bruce's parents again? We get it. Every Batman movie has Bruce's parents getting killed. We get it. His parents died. Stop showing it.
All right, guys. Daniel did not like the Joker at all. That was a bad movie. Let's move on. Dan Stevens is taking over the voice of Corvo in the new Solar Opposites season 4 after Justin Roiland was also doing some no-nos, getting canceled. Justin Roiland, one of the creators of Rick and Morty, I believe, got in trouble for sexual allegations of some sort, and he got completely canceled, and he's in courts essentially. Everybody's stopped working with him. All of the shows and games and projects that he was a part of have basically opted out of working with him from there on, and now they're trying to find replacements for him. We're unsure still of who's going to play Rick and Morty, because he did both voices for Rick and Morty, and And I find it interesting here because we did get a replacement for the voice that he did on his show Solar Opposites, but it's funny because it's like a British guy that doesn't sound anything like the original voice. And I think it's funny because they're, you know, they're chopping it up to be something like what Rick and Morty would do, or any of these kinds of like shows that they come out with that's just like weird and odd, that has like a lot of like unexplainable future tech and stuff like that, where they were just like, it's just like a weird like interdimensional voice changey thing that happened, and now all of a sudden I'm British. Like, it was, you know, it's just like this. So I thought that was very funny to do that, where it's like, we're not even going to try to fake and like come up with someone that tries to pretend to do the voice or something like that. Like, nah, this is a British guy, and we're just gonna like really just throw it out there that something crazy happened and his voice is completely different. But I think with Rick and Morty, they'll probably try to get people that do more so try to like get closer to that voice. You feel me?
Yeah. I mean, what did he do exactly?
What did Justin Roiland do?
Yeah.
Justin Roiland got in trouble because I believe either him and his girlfriend were, it was claimed that him and his girlfriend were like keeping a girl as like a sex slave or something weird like that. There was some kind of crazy shit where it's like he.
And is there evidence of that, or is it kind of like somebody just spread a rumor and they just happen to get caught in the crossfires of it?
Rick and Morty creator Justin Roiland has been cleared of his domestic charges. We dismissed the charges today as a result of having insufficient evidence to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. He's trying to clear his name. He feels like that people have been lying about him and things like that. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It looks like he's still not going to be able to get his position back at any of the companies that he's lost his position in.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
For everything. Yeah. Just.
I've heard that he's really, really bad behind the scenes in terms of like his alcoholism, and when he comes into the studio, it's like very rare. It's usually he like records his lines at home and sends them in, and when he comes in, he's obnoxious and rude and stuff like that. So maybe people didn't really need to know what was going on with the results of the court case to decide that they just didn't like him. Yeah. That's probably just what happened at the end, is that people just didn't like him anymore, and working with him just wasn't going to be. It was a good out to stop working with him at the end of the day, no matter what, whether it's true or not. Last but not least, while we're on Rick and Morty, they had Szechuan sauce that came out at McDonald's. Well, I guess it was originally Mulan's, and then it was theirs. McDonald's now has a $230 wedding package where you can get McMarried.
For
McLovin. It's I mean, it's silly. It seems kind of, I mean, I don't really know how to get into it, because who wants to get married at a McDonald's?
People who fell in love at a McDonald's?
Yeah, I guess if you're feeling in love at McDonald's, if McDonald's is like your bonding food, if you need to pay a wedding for only $230.
Yeah, weddings are expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I find that pretty funny and interesting and weird and different. But it's not the first time that I've heard of people getting married at fast food chains and whatnot. Like, but the ones that I've heard of are usually like way more. How do I explain it? Like, I heard of one that was like a Taco Bell wedding, and they just went really overboard with like the Taco Bell, and it was more so like a big thing than it is like a $230 like McDonald's wedding. Like it was like
they
it
got
was
a
more
Crunchwrap
so.
Supreme. They brought back the Mexican pizza.
Well, right. Like, well, I just think like it was more like it was a real wedding, but the whole thing was like Taco Bell themed, where it's
Yeah.
like they paid lots of money for like Taco Bell shit everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like it's not a $230 wedding at a Taco Bell. But I think I that one I can be misspeaking on. I don't know if that was a
Crunchwrap Supreme cake.
real
That'd be
thing or
pretty awesome.
a
Boom,
Crunchwrap
boom,
Supreme
boom.
what? Oh, cake.
Oh, yeah, wedding
Oh,
cake.
Dude. I mean, that would be the best thing. I stand by the Crunchwrap Supreme. It gets, but you have to eat it fresh. You have to eat it fresh. That's the thing.
Yeah, a lot of
That
those things you
tostada
have to
has
eat
to-
fresh. If the cheese gets cold, then it gets all
Well, the cold cheese
weird.
is gross, and like soggy hard shells is super gross. And
Yeah.
I don't like. I mean, you put it. A Crunchwrap Supreme is literally just like a hard shell covered in sauces and meats and things, and then wrapped in a soft shell, and that hard shell gets soggy so fast, like so fast. You'll literally be halfway through a fresh Crunchwrap Supreme, and the rest of it's soggy already. Like only the first few bites are crunchy. Well, guys, it's been good. DK, I had fun. I think we had a lot of juicy conversation that we got through today. And yeah, appreciate you guys for staying with us, tuning in. Keeping tuned through the hiatus and all that good stuff. We really appreciate you. Daniel?
It's been a doozy of weekend. Or a week. Not a weekend, but a week.
It's been a week, yeah. Been a doozy. But we're kicking. All right, guys. It was good. We'll talk to you soon. Like, subscribe, follow, tell all your friends and family, send us your money. We love money. All right. Talk to you soon. Peace.